This game has an element of financial risk and may be addictive. Please play responsibly and at your own risk. This game has an element of financial risk and may be addictive. Please play responsibly.
Good evening, namaskar, and welcome. My name is Peter Abraham, and I'm delighted to welcome you all yet another very interesting final table from this 10th edition of the India Online Poker Championship, powered by SpartanPoker.com. We're about to start the final table of this massive tournament, which is played by the biggest sharks in the game, in fact. And yes, we are about to start the final table of this 1.25 crore guaranteed IOPC Super Highroller. And for a buy-in of a little over ₹1 lakh, you had a big turnout of players who wanted to take part in this event and who did take part in this event. 153 of them to be exact. And that, of course, led to the original guarantee being crushed. And we have 1.53 crores now in this IOPC Super Highroller event, up for grabs, and the biggest chunk of that prize pool. So let's take a look at the complete breakdown of the prizes that are up for grabs and see what each of these players, these finalists, these 6 finalists of the Super Highroller, will be taking home a little bit later today. Up top, of course, 38.49 lakhs for the winner of this Highroller event, followed by 26 lakhs for second place. And the top 3 gets rounded off with a payout of 16.9 lakh rupees. And that is followed by the 4th place payout of 13.99 lakhs. The last 2 payout positions, 11.29 lakhs. And everyone at this final table of the IOPC Super Highroller is guaranteed a min payday of 8.9 lakh rupees. Now, from this huge field of 153 players, these are the 6 finalists who are vying for the biggest prizes here at the IOPC Super Highroller. Let's take it from the top with Vaibhav Sharma, who's leading the pack, playing as Nikka Zeldar with 2.5 million in chips. Vaibhav has come third in the IPC Highroller event back in the day for a sum of 21 lakhs. And he's been there around the block for a while now, playing since 2013. Following Vaibhav is another familiar face from the Indian circuit in Arsh Grover, who's playing as big timer. Arsh has 1.8 million in chips. Now, Arsh, of course, has won a bunch of titles across platforms, both live and online. His most recent exploits online include shipping the FTS, the Final Table Series Kickoff event, as well as winning the leaderboard at that FTS series. He's also won the Millionaire Legends twice for a sum of 28 lakhs and 23.5 lakh rupees. And he's been playing for well over a decade now. Another familiar name rounding off the top 3 is a man we've seen before in these live streams. It's Potato Player, or Sriharsha Dorapenny, who's got 1.3 million in chips. Now, Sriharsha has, of course, won the IOPC Highroller event just a few days ago, and he took home a sum of 21.55 lakhs for that one. He is also a Millionaire Legends winner back in the day, winning 39 lakhs in that particular tournament. And Sriharsha has been playing since 2014, so lots of experience there as well. And again, and I'm tired of saying this line, but once again, a familiar face in Ashish Munot, who's playing as Donkey 07. And Ashish has a stack of just under 1 million chips, 884,000 to be precise. And well, this man has a lot of achievements to his name, including WBT India main event champion of 2019, the IOPC main event winner in the same year, Jan 2019. And he's considered to be one of India's best talents in the poker field. And it's not surprising that he also has been playing poker for a little over 6 years now. Once more, a familiar name from a past live stream is the very interestingly named Soros Drug Tudor or Sivarama Nagendra Vadlamani, who's got 660,000 in chips at this final table. He is a WPT mini high roller winner in the past, and he's also shipped a bunch of tournaments like the Adda 52 million and others. And he's also been on the FT or the final table of the IOPC Millionaire Legends, which is where you've probably seen him before if you've tuned into one of these broadcasts. He's fairly new at the game in that sense, since he's been playing only for the past 3 years, but no dearth of talent here, considering this is his second final table of this particular series, and a big one at that as well. And last, but certainly not the least, one more player who is very well known on the Indian circuit, playing as free flow, is Naresh Veeravalli, who's got a stack of a little over 400,000 in chips. And this, as he says, is the biggest achievement that he's made in his poker career so far. I'm sure, Naresh, you're being very, very modest about that. He has a fair number of finishes under his belt. And yes, if he were to go on to win from here, and let's not count any short stack out, it ain't over till it's over. So Naresh has every chance to make it up the ranks in the chip counts in this high roller event as well. Naresh has been playing for the past 1 decade, and that's the roundup for the chip stacks in this IOPC Super Highroller event. And like always, for today's stream, I'm going to be joined by two of our esteemed commentators. First up, we have someone who has crafted a name in Asian and global poker history, having been the first ever female to win the famed Red Dragon event, the main event, Red Dragon, at the Macau Poker Cup twice. I mean, one is like a pretty great achievement, but a double whammy there for this particular player. She is a role model for female players across the world. I'm talking, of course, about none other than Selena Lynn, who's joining us from Melbourne in Australia. Now, along with Selena, we will be joined by someone who, by self-admission, grew up watching episodes and coverage from the World Series of Poker, the WSOP, and of course, High Stakes Poker, and many, many of these other shows that were being broadcast back in the day and are still being broadcast. And this stoked his interest in the game even further, and he became a familiar name in the poker community because of his win at the main event of the India Poker Championship at Goa in 2012. He's also known as the founder and the host of the poker podcast called Poker Rajas. Yes, I'm talking about none other than Richard Haridasoham. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Selena Lynn and Richard Haridasoham. Thanks to both of you all for being a part of this live stream. And Richie, I think it almost feels like a strange sense of deja vu seeing some of these names here. In fact, up top is in the top 3 counts is Sriharsha Dodapenny, who's obviously been here and done that as well, having claimed the high roller title, I beg your pardon. And I think we're in for a fun ride in this in the action coming up this evening.
Absolutely, Peter. For anyone who's ever challenged skill in poker, they should come and take a look at the final 6. The lineups look amazing. Some of the names are pretty much the biggest names in Indian poker. And I just can't wait to get underway.
So now we can take a look at this stacks that are there at this final table. And it's led by, of course, Vaibhav Sharma with a stack of 2.5 million in chips, which is about 90 big blinds. Selena, this is a pretty good cushion for, I mean, I know it's a super high roller event and the stacks are generally deep, the structure is deep, but having 90 big blinds, that's definitely a luxury cushion for, a player in that position.
We actually see an average stack size of about 45 big blinds at this final table. And there's going to be a lot of post play to be had here. I think that when it comes to the super high roller and the high roller tournaments, because of the small player pool, it's actually very interesting to watch because the players, they know each other's play in and out. They have studied each other's play. They have played with each other on the live and online circuit over and over again. And it would be very interesting to see the kind of moves that they pull on each other because it's one of those cases where, you know what I know, but am I actually doing this play against you because I know this? So it's one of those mind games that where, sometimes you up the levels and you don't want to get too above yourself at times because now you're overthinking it, right? So, I would love to actually see a potato player, how he plays this final table as an average stack rather than going into it as a chip leader like he was last time.
And the potato player, aka Sriharsha Dorapenny, has been here. He's been in this position before, although, like Selena says, as a chip leader in the previous one, but he did take it down. And it's not at all a bad stack that he's playing with. 1.3 million chips, Richie. Fair enough. He's in the middle of the pack, so to speak. But, can't really count any of these guys out, especially now that they have the confidence that, they're carrying literally from 2 days ago into this particular tournament.
Yeah, and Sriharsha has been phenomenal. Always, as far as we remember. But even in this tournament, he, right from 70 odd players, he was in the top 5 continuously, and he's been putting pressure. He's been playing the right spots, and he's made it to the final table. Now, you know what happens when good players get to final tables. They make advantage of it, and they usually end up winning. And like Selena said, this is a deep stack format. A lot of post-flop play is going to happen. Variance is going to be on the bare minimum. Obviously, there will be positions where that will play, but it all comes down to experience. And the beauty of this is that out of the 6 players, I think all of them have been in this position before. And I think the post-flop play and a lot of how they handle their different stacks is going to sort of determine who takes this one home.
Do you think anyone's going to try and get a little too cute, especially if they have some of the lower stacks that we see, for instance, not that they are very short by any means, but Ashish Munot, Nagendra Vadlamani and Naresh Viravalli are at the lower end of the counts. But do you think they're going to be a little more aggressive than usual, or they're going to be more coy than usual, given the people who are up against them in this final table?
Since these players know each other really well, you can expect a lot of post-flop play and a lot of creativity in terms of the ranges, in terms of, having different bet sizing, and a lot of that happening in this game. Besides Potato, besides Ashish Munot, we also have Arsh. Arsh is also someone who's been around for a long time, and he knows, and he's a sort of an MTD specialist. So I'll be very excited to see what he does. Saurashtra Tudor, second final table, so he's going to be exciting to watch. We know very little about him. Obviously, he's been around, he's played a lot of tournaments, and he has cashes, but we haven't really seen him play. Even the last tournament, he was short stacked, he had to push fold, and so I'm excited to see what he does. Obviously, he's doing something right to have made the second final table. Selena,
what kind of a mentality would someone need at this stage? Because we know he's already made a final table here in the high roll event previously. But do you think he's going to want to try and be more aggressive than he was in that tournament? He's got a slightly better stack this time around, and the blind structure is a little bit better than it was then for him. But I think he would want to take a few more shots.
The way I look at it is, depending on where you're sitting on the chip count, if you're towards the bottom, you almost have nothing to lose but to go higher, right? From my experience, it's funny. When I go into heads up, second in chips, I always end up doing better and winning rather than going in as a chip leader. Because as a chip leader, you're like, oh, I want to maintain being that chip leader. But when you're that short stack, you're like really fighting for it. You're like, oh, the worst thing that can happen is I finish last. I finish at the bottom. And that's where I am already. So you can put in that, fighting mentality where like, okay, I'm going to climb up that ladder, right? So yeah, like I would love to see the short stacks like really fighting for it. What's the worst that can happen? You're already guaranteed a great payday. And, the best thing you can do is just climb up and finish top 3. That's where all the money is, isn't it?
Well, anything is possible will be the mantra for our last 2 or 3 players in the chip counts. We've spoken about Ashish Munot, Donkey07, who finished as runner-up to Sriharsha Dorapenny a couple of nights ago. And he's definitely a threat at this table. Let's talk about, the short stack at this table, Vijay. Naresh Viravalli, a fun guy who, we all enjoy his presence at the live events, in the past. And we hope those days come back soon enough. Naresh is one of those really full of, larger than life kind of characters who are out there. And I get the feeling Naresh, more than anyone else, is going to hold this anything is possible mantra and just come out all guns blazing in this one.
I'm so excited to watch him. Naresh is such a fun guy. Like if anyone who's actually ever played with him live or just been around him in the casino knows that, he's just a super fun character. But something that not a lot of people know about Naresh is that he actually works really hard at his game as well. He is, one of the best at the game. And over the last couple of years, I think he's been working really hard on his game. I'll be really super intrigued to see how he does at this final table. 14 big blinds is not that bad of a stack. Obviously, he would want to be in a better position, but I think he still has enough chips to sort of navigate through this field. And if he wins, that'll be an amazing achievement for him.
And that is what we have here for this IOPC Super Highroller table. All these fine players sitting on that table, buying for their share of 1.53 crore rupees that's been collected in this prize pool. Up top, 38 lakhs, but the winner not only gets that huge prize up top, they also get some additional prizes like the 18 karat gold IOPC badge. And there's another prize, which is the fact that they will be the winner of the Super Highroller event, along with other marquee events, the crown, as well as the IOPC leaderboard. All of these players will be put into what is known as the IOPC Masters table, which takes place on the 3rd of February. Now, the Masters table is very, very special because you have the top of the top winners across these schedules coming together to battle it out and claim the title of Mastermind of this IOPC Jan 2021 series. And what does the Mastermind win? The Mastermind wins a fantastic timepiece in a customized Breitling chronograph, an Avenger chronograph 43 watch, which is a beautiful timepiece. And I think anyone would be proud to sport one of those things on their wrist. So that's the prize going the way of the IOPC Masters table winner. And we also like to make things interesting for you, our viewers. And so we're going to present you with a contest question. And if you are the lucky one who wins, you will get a ticket into IOPC's Titan Stack tournament. So you too get a chance to get a taste of this fantastic online series by winning a ticket worth 4,400. So here's the question that I'm going to ask you, and you need to make sure that you, along with the answer that you put out there, also mention your Spartan Poker ID and tag 3 of your friends when you give this answer. And here's the question. In which year did the first ever $1 million buy-in poker tournament take place? And that's it as far as this chat between my co-commentators, Selena Lin and Richard Haridas Soham is concerned. It's time now to get into the action. The players are ready. The table is set. The cards are in the air, figuratively speaking. And let's go and catch the action at this IOPC Super Highroller, which is powered by SpartanPoker.com.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Well, we're just waiting for the action to begin here at the IOPC Super Highroller event. And there's some exciting times ahead. My co-commentators, Selena Lin and Richard Haridas Soham. Hopefully we are in for a bit more of an exciting journey here with this final table, considering the deeper structures that's there. Richie, I think we're expecting some fireworks, a little bit, given the aggressive nature of some of these players.
Yeah, for sure. The first two final tables that we covered here also were very exciting, but unfortunately they were slightly shorter stacked, which is why we went through the players pretty quick. But on the other hand, this one we've reached with an average stack of 45 BB, and I think there's a lot of play and a lot of post-flop action that we are going to see, which will be super fun.
Selena, given that, half this table has got less than $1 million in chips, and while that's not a smaller stack by any means, what do you think the short stacks are going to try and I don't think it's quite a push-fold situation just yet.
No, they actually have room to shove over raises at this point instead of just open shoving themselves. If they feel like a player has been rather aggressive in late position, they can find spots where they can shove, a certain range of hands against them from the small big blind and so forth. That's going to give them extra chips to play with right there. If they pick up a raise plus a big blind, small blind, that's going to give them, an extra 3-4 big blinds to work with.
Yeah, I'm guessing that they just want to build it up a little by little before they get to a place where they can actually start firing a little bit more aggressively. But these all of these 6 players who are here at this table, they are no slouches by any means. Leading from the top is, of course, Nick Zeldar, which is the Nick of Vaibhav Sharma. He's the biggest stack with 2.5 million chips here. And right at the bottom of the counts is the very familiar name of Naresh Veeravalli, who's got a little over 400,000 in chips. But don't count anyone just yet, folks. Don't count anyone out because each of these guys has the potential to win. And I'm guessing, Richie, as far as Arsh Grover, someone who's a young, bright talent who's had a bunch of deep finishes across various tournaments and titles as well. He's definitely someone to look out for at this final table.
Yes, and we always talk about Arsh like, a veteran because he's been playing this game since he was 14 and he only got into professional poker after 21. But the fact is that he's got experience on his side. He's been grinding PokerStars. He's been studying the game for actually a decade. So he, being a 24-year-old kid, does not sort of, you cannot undermine the kind of talent he brings to this table. And his result speaks for itself. And which is why he's going to be one of the people to look out for at this table. I also wanted to ask Selena that since the stacks are sort of evenly distributed, although the chip leader has quite a substantial lead, do you think he's going to get a lot of resistance as far as the other players playing back at him?
I think that with so much chips in play, I would actually see players not afraid to play post-flop with him, take hands to post-flop, because at this point, if he is aggressive with raising, the players can see, I can see them, opening up their ranges a little bit more, calling his pre-flop raises, playing him in position, and, being able to maneuver quite carefully post-flop. And playing in position is always going to be a huge advantage in any case. So I could see players just, picking those spots and playing him post-flop and try to chip up themselves slowly.
And let's not forget the three players who actually made the second final table. Potato player, Sriharsha, has already won the high roller and he's on a second final table. So that must have been such an amazing feeling. Not to forget Soros Tudor, the Nick we most struggled pronouncing. He's at the final table, and it'll be exciting to see him. Ashish Munot, even at the last final table, has been very coy. He hasn't played too many big pots, but he is obviously one of the best players at the table who brings a lot of experience. Serena, what did you think about Potato player? I know you did the commentary on the last stream, and what do you think we can expect from him?
Well, from what I saw, he was really good at knowing when to be more aggressive, right? So we actually did see him going as chip leader, but the chip lead actually changed several times while there were like forehand and freehand and so forth. And as that changed, his play changed as well. And one of the hands that he took out one of the players with was he actually raised, I believe, was 6-5 offsuit on the button, and this was against Nikita Luther, and she actually, it was like, she defended with 10-9, and that was a hand that came 6-6, 10 on the flop, and I felt like, to me, I thought that was a pretty wide raise, but due to the fact that, the ICM in play, as well as, at the time, the players were kind of cuffed a little bit, right? Like playing back at him. So he felt like his range on the button there is almost like really wide. I would say he'll probably be raising like 80% of his hands. So you could actually see that, he understands the stack size really, really well, what ranges to play with under what circumstance. So I would actually see him right now, being able to maneuver his stack, probably, I would say easily top 3 from, his performance last time.
Yes, absolutely. And Donkey 07, the last time we were commentating, he was at the table. And what we saw from him, Selena, was that he was not only, being aggressive at times where he sort of had position and he had the chip advantage, but he also took control of the game in sort of phases. And I think that, again, is a very important skill, sort of avoiding the action and not putting yourself at risk. I think that, again, will be crucial. Don't you think so?
Oh, for sure. I think that, one of those really important things that you can see from a good player is that, you don't actually know how they end up getting all the way to like playing heads up or, top 3 on final table, but they made it look so easy, right? Like they didn't get themselves involved in these, difficult spots. They didn't get themselves involved in these big all-ins. They didn't get themselves involved in these major, huge flips. They actually did it in such a way where they almost guaranteed themselves and locked up that position on the final table. So it's actually quite interesting to see, it is very much a game of skill because, they're not basing this off luck. They know that, okay, if I play my hands correctly and I maneuver in this particular way, then I'm guaranteed to finish top 3.
Absolutely.
I have a few hands that have gone through here at this point in time. It looks like everyone's being just a little coy. I've seen the pocket pairs of free flow, win a pot, but sort of struck Tudor had a pair of 2s and he decided to let that go. So I don't think anyone's getting too cute at this point in time. Although some heavy raising by Nika Zelda there.
Yeah, as a big stack, I'm sure he wants to take control of this table. There are some big names he's playing against. Not that he's any stranger to the final table, but he will be aware of the fact that he needs to keep the momentum going. He can't, let the chip lead slip away very easily because if you give the chips to anyone like, Paredo player or Donkey or 7, you're in for a bad moment there.
Well, Paredo player had picked up Big Slick in the last hand, but no dice for the gentleman because everyone just folded away. And so 2 beautiful cards going to waste there. But that doesn't stop Sriharsha Dodapenny, a.k.a. Paredo player. He fires out his bets, and with that King 10 suited, he picked up that hand and follows it up with another King 10 offsuit this time.
No, we actually see 2 pocket pairs in this hand, one from the chip leader holding pocket 3s, and then Big Timer there actually has pocket 7 in this hand. It will be interesting to see how he plays this.
Well, Paredo player coming along for the ride. Well, there was enough in the pot for him to add on those extra chips to just see the flop. But I think any activity from these other 2 players holding pocket pairs and Potato's just going to get out of the way, I think.
Yeah, I like Nika Zelda's check there. I think that, he recognizes this flop could very well be hitting, a huge range of potato player. Possibly a flop that, could be played. He could get check raised on really easily if he does decide to c-bet. And then with Big Timer behind him to act, I think a check on the flop is really good here. So we do see him take a stab there on the turn.
Quite the wet board there, but Arsh Grover is not going anywhere. He makes that call.
So potato play here is choose to fold, his King 10 high. And we're heads up to the river.
Well, that was a very calmly played out hand right there. Not too much.
Precisely.
So fair enough. These guys know that they're here for some serious money, folks. And when I say serious, I mean absolutely serious because 38.49 lakh rupees is what the winner is going to get at the end of this final table. And that's a fair amount to be, taking home at the end of a long grind like this one. So players are definitely aware that there are some huge jumps between each of these spots. So no one's going to give it away quite that easily. And as we say it, ace 10 of Soro struck Tudor. It's a bump up to 68,000. I like this hand. The King 10 of, looks like Naresh Veerawali likes it even more than I do. He's put it all in.
Yeah, quite the action player, Naresh Veerawali, at least when he's playing cash games. Glad to see him go very aggressive. Do you think, Selena, this is a play that is a little out of line, or
Oh no, I personally, wow, yeah, no, I personally think it is very standard. Like King 10 is a great hand in the big blind with the stack sizes that we were seeing. Both of the players holding right there. They had, somewhere I think it was probably 12 big blinds ish. Both player had. So I can see, free flow shoving. I would say like, any of those Broadway kind of hands in that spot. And, that call was super standard. Like ace 10 is a really big hand to have on the button. And you're pretty much calling anybody shove from the small big blind.
Yeah, you couldn't really fault any player for doing what they did. And Naresh Veeravalli, aka Free Flow, gets out on the top of that particular hand. And really, Nagendra, I beg your pardon, Vadlamani, who's quite crippled at the moment with just about 50,000 in his behind him.
Yeah, Sorostok Tudor has been making final tables, but once he does that, he's not able to get any traction. Down to his last 1.5 blind, I think it's going to be a standard all-in. Hoping
always the bridesmaid, Richie. Always the bridesmaid.
Yeah.
Well, if there's anything that I can say to cheer up Nagendra is the fact that there are more events that are happening over the course of the next few days in this IOPC schedule. And of course, if you were to win one of the marquee events, you get a spot at the IOPC Masters table on the 3rd of February. Bumping it up, Naresh Veeravalli, now that he's got some chips, he's going to play, and he's got a bit of that flop, but Nika Zeldar ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, something for everyone.
Yep. Oh boy. Well,
Naresh keeps the best hand, and standard check. Naresh picking up some chips, starting as a short stack. He's now got some speaking chips, and
he's like gone up almost 3 times on his stack from when we began. Another big slick coming up. This time for Ashish Munot, aka Donkey 07, and we're gonna see some fireworks in this end.
Yeah, definitely, he's considering going all in. I think that is the standard play, but obviously he has a decent amount of chips, and with a short stack right next to him, probably thinking whether he wants to play for the ladder, chooses the ladder and goes all in and collects the chips. Kalina, do you think it's a good idea to sort of play post flop or fold like a big hand if you want to ladder, or do you think in the larger scheme of things you should just play your hands to its strength?
Well, I do think that Ace King would be a difficult hand for him to play post flop if he doesn't actually connect with the board. And even if he does connect with the board, the question now is Nika Zelda going to put him to his test, right? And is Donkey 07 at that point willing to call down with top pair? It could be top pair, top kicker in that spot, but if Nika Zelda put you to the test for all your chips, and he could very well easily have 2 pairs on whatever board, are you going to be able to call that? And that's the question, right? Now, when he does shove all in, now Nika Zelda's range has to be really, really tight. I think that in that spot, I think he will call 10s plus and Ace King as well. But I would say almost everything else you would have to. Ace Queen, I think, is that borderline hand. I think, for Nika Zelda, I think that for him to shove there, he's saying to you, I've got a really strong hand to be doing this at this point of the game, right? Like it changes so much, right? If it's at another point of the game, I think that, you probably happily call Ace 10, Ace Jack, right? But at that point, I think that, if he's willing to shove his hand, I think you could easily profitably fold Ace Queen. You could probably fold pocket 9s in that spot, But I think it's a good play with 20 big blinds there. Yes, it seems like it's a lot to shove. And yes, with one guy that's super short. But at the same time, he's looking the chip EV side of things. And I think that is a play.
Right.
And of course, we've had our first casualty at this final table. The really crippled stack of Nagendra Vadlamani has moved off of this final table, being taken care of by Vaibhav Sharma's Ace 9. And with that, we have our 6th place finisher in Nagendra Vadlamani, who plays with, and I really need to find why these guys use these complicated names, but playing as Soros. He is out in 6th place at this IOPC Super Highroller final table, and he takes home a nice amount of just under 9 lakh rupees, 8.9 lakhs to be precise. And well, it'll soothe the sting a little bit, I think, Richard. But obviously, he's made these final tables. It's got to be slightly disheartening that, he's not at least going the distance to the top 3, maybe.
So I mean, you have to feel for the guy. He's made it to 2 final tables, and in fact, this time he had chips to play with as well. So yeah, super unlucky for him. But then tournaments are brutal that way, and we seem to have a hand developing here. Ace Jack for Naresh Veerawali.
This is the best thing that could possibly happen to anyone playing with a short stack. You double up really quick, and then there are opportunities for you to start getting more aggressive.
Yeah, Naresh opts to limp with the Ace Jack, and yeah, that's why he did it.
There you go.
So
I like it. I mean, it's a little unconventional in that sense, but he seems to he seems to know what he's doing and how he wants to go about getting those chips, and he has chipped up from the 400,000 that he had to now a little over 1.2 million.
Yeah, well done. Yeah, so Free Flow also knows how the players on this table play. He knew Vaibhav would sort of use his stack to be more aggressive. Obviously, he has position post flop, so he chose to limp and sort of use that to shove. And when he limp shoves, it sort of is a very strong move. And Vaibhav's range there usually isn't that strong, so it's a great spot to collect the extra chips.
And as we say it, Naresh Veerawali picks up another hand in the Ace 9 of spades.
Yeah, looks like he's going to get action with the King Jack of Potato Player.
We are seeing definitely a lot of pot control with the players playing post flop on the table. We see multiple streets being checked to just keep probably we see one street of betting at times. So yeah, like players are maneuvering with their stack quite carefully on this final table.
We might see Potato Player call here because he's got the King of Hearts, so some backdoor action for his flush.
Yeah,
he does pick up
minuscule. Yeah, that minuscule bet was. I don't think it just bothered him all that much, but now this should be interesting.
Selena, how good does this feel that you check your big blind with Ace 9 and the flop comes Ace 4?
Yeah, no, it's great. You almost want to just bet so small to keep the players in. Right. You're like, come along. Yeah, it's annoying because at the same time you're like, oh well, could they have even a hand to call me on this flop with?
Right.
It's hard to. Oh, that's quite interesting. Now we actually see almost a pot-sized bet on that river from Potato Player, and now I guess Free Flow has a decision to make whether he thinks that Potato Player has actually hit flush.
There you go. The rich getting richer. Naresh Veerawali is collecting some chips up to 1.5 million. The short stack is no longer short at this final table.
Yeah, even with all the careful maneuvering, as Selena put it, even with all of that, there has been some fair chip movement between these players. But yeah, it's except for the 2 players who are Ashish Munot and Potato Player, everyone else is over a million comfortable. And I think
Selena called it from the moment we started. Everybody actually has changed the way they're playing. You see a lot of pot control pre-flop and on the flop, but you see players are not afraid to sort of take chances and try to take it away in the later streets. So we've seen some big value, some shoving, some pot control. At the same time, nobody's afraid to bluff because you have a decent amount of chips to sort of navigate the later streets, which is why this is coming to fruition. And Nikki's held he hasn't found too many hands. I think he had the 3s one hand when the big timer had 7s, but besides that, we haven't seen much from him.
Yeah, not much traction except for that hand, and of course the one where he knocked out Nagendra Vadlamani's sort of struck Tudor. But he's in it with over 2 million in chips, and this should be an interesting hand as well. That's some
Interesting open there by Ashish Munot. I mean, you can
the feeling that he's slightly fed up.
Yeah,
he's getting jumped.
Not seen anything better than this for a while, and then you raise the ace-9.
And he chips up a little bit with that hand. So I'm seeing a lot of aces at this final table here. But Potato player sticking with his slow maneuvering approach, as with the others, decides to let go.
I think it has to do with the stack depth. I think you would have seen Potato player being more aggressive in a sort of shorter stack format, but you see how his play has changed, and I think Selena would agree because she saw him play the last time, and he sort of took more chances in that stream, and now he's taking his time and sort of getting composure. He knows Donkey 7 is the shortest stack. He's got 20 PB, Peter, the shortest stack at the table. So there's no reason to go crazy. All in good time.
Now, Peter, these badges I see on the table, they look like almost like patches. Can you tell me what they actually mean?
So the icons that you see, the M icon stands for the Millionaire Tournament, and that's one of the flagship tournaments of Spartan Poker. And everyone who has that M next to them is a winner of the Millionaire Tournament. So they've got,
wow.
So these guys have definitely done good for themselves. The FTS stands for the Final Table Series, which took place back in November as well, and which is, I believe, coming up really soon. Oops, did I give something away? So FTS, those badges for Big Timer and Free Flow are from the FTS series. They won titles there. And Ashish Munot, who's sporting, along with Sriharsha Dodapenny, they are sporting the IOPC badge. And of course, that's from a title that they've won in the India Online Poker Championship. The most recent one being, of course, both these gentlemen, in fact, who finished first and second, if I'm not wrong, in that event, which Sriharsha won.
That's right.
So, hoping to add one more of these little icons next to their name, I'm sure, all of these guys.
There's one person on this table who has FOMO, so Nika Zelda would definitely want one of those badges, considering he's made it to the final table. We've seen a lot of him on the live tables, and he is quite a regular at the circuit. So
yeah, his ID almost looks a little naked compared to the others because he doesn't have one icon there as well. But hey, ace king in hand and things could change. Maybe he runs right to the end of this finish line, taking home this title.
And Selena, what do you think about the race size? Do you think in a deeper stack situation, you would sort of bump up the race size a little more than normal?
Yeah, I think it's like very, very standard that players are doing like somewhere between 2.2 to 2.5. And, because they want to keep the pot relatively small going to post-flop, I think that they won't change that raise size very much at all. I think that, also with a player who has, two players on the table with 20 big blinds that can jam over them. So in a pot where they decide to re-steal, they don't lose as many big blinds if they choose to fold.
Yeah. Do you think on a later position, maybe a button would raise slightly bigger to give less incentive to the big blind, or again it would be standard? What would you do in that position?
I think it would depend on the player in the big blind. Okay, so if I have a very fishy type of player who likes to call raises with a large range of hands, then I'm likely to go a little bit bigger, not to deter him away from calling, but rather than to, get more chips off him, right? Because I know that I can play him post-flop. I have an advantage against, that kind of player. Then I would go a little bit bigger because he's willing to call, 3x, maybe even 4x to see a flop. And, you want to charge him for it. And then when you guys do build a pot and he can't let go of his holding, then you can stack him for all the chips. And I think that's that's a really huge incentive for me to make it bigger against players like that. Now, against professional poker players like the ones that we see on this table, I think that raising the standard amount is gonna be fine. Playing them in position, when you have the button is going to be crucial. And, for them, they probably don't really want to tangle with you much out of position anyway, right? So I think that, the ranges that they're going to hold is going to be those standard hands that you can predict what kind of hands that they will have going with you to post flop. The other thing I want to mention is that when Peter talked about the badges on the table, so this is almost like bringing all your trophies and all your bracelet and all your rings to come and play, isn't it?
Absolutely. And if anything, right now, Vaibhav Sharma must be just praying that this gives him a lot of chips, given that he's hit his set, and he's going to be hoping that it stays all the way till the end. But yeah, it's a way to show it off, and it is an intimidating factor at the end of the day. If I see these icons with players who are near me, I'm going to be a little bit wary about how I'm going to approach my game. He's just in this position right now. He's got that flush draw. He's got that pair, and
you see Vaibhav sizing up a little bit because he knows there's a ton of draws on this board, which sort of hits the ranges of the small blind. The button's going to be raising pretty wide in this situation, and so great bet sizing from him.
I'd love to see what he puts out here right now.
Yeah, free flow has showdown value with a pair of tens. He might be forced to call because there are a lot of missed draws. And the bet size will be very crucial.
Yeah, I can see Nika Zelda making it not to.
Whoa.
Oh, actually, he decided to go over. So now I guess he's kind of representing, maybe like pot betting on the turn with a draw and then missing that draw and then try to go for it on the river, or hoping that free flow has a big handed to call him down with. Yeah.
Yeah, or the usual you're on stream and I want to show a big bluff, sort of a meta level. He's pulling a high
the 7 deuce, right? How sick would it be if his holding was like the 7 deuce and he'd be like,
Christopher Nolan, we need you here. I'd love for that guy to actually make a poker movie. I don't think anyone would understand it. At least 5 times, but hey.
But everyone would watch it though.
Everyone would, of course.
Yeah, so Naresh makes the right fold here. Nika Zeldar up to 2.2 million, right about where he started the day with. Big timer with King Deuce on the big line sees a flop. Something for everyone on the King 4 Jack rainbow flop.
Well, provided it's not too much of an exciting hand coming up, we've got a contest question that we're going to run by you again, which we mentioned at the top of the show. The winner will get a ticket into an IOPC event.
Where will as the pair of fours go?
Arsh has been pretty quiet, but he's not been getting all that many hands as well to play with. Although this might shake up things with the ace-8 suited. Nika's like following the whole I'm chip leader and I must raise mantra very, very strongly.
And what you saw with the ace-8 fold, I think it's a great fold. I think in that spot, you'd rather incline towards maybe 3-betting or folding because you're going to be out of position throughout the hand. And Selena, would you 3-bet there with ace-8 or would you just let it go or would you opt to call?
I think it really depends on the frequency Nika Zelda has been raising, and I do feel like he has been raising quite a bit. So in that instant, I am more inclined to probably put 3-betting in there and then fold to further action, if he decides to come up with the top or anything.
Naresh, man, I feel for you. This is exactly what I do when I get pocket jacks and someone raises after me really big. I'm just like, I feel like throwing something at my monitor. So
yeah, like it's a spot where you're like, oh, I'm not loving it, but like can I fold? That's a question, right? Like, yeah, I see.
Really, really happy to see that flop though.
For sure, yeah.
But Nika keeps the heat on, firing out 1.71 out there.
That's actually a relatively small bet. into a pot of 600,000 right there.
Yeah, 6 or 5.
He knows that that's not a great flop for him. So he, instead of sort of checking, he kind of would sort of feel a bet, which I personally don't like. I think you could check that. It's not a great board for you as the pre-flop raiser. I mean, you could have a betting range there, but I think 1/3 or like slightly larger than 1/3 pot would be bet would be a better sort of sizing, and the sizing he went for sort of looks really weak. And Naresh raised as well, like pretty large. He went for like a 5x raise to Vaibhav's action.
Yeah, he pretty much kind of saying to him, I'm pot committed, this is pretty much an all-in bet right here.
Bring it. That's what Naresh Virawali said. And I like the fact that he's got a mix of good and kind of okay hands, but he's been playing them well. And a little under 2 million in chips right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we started seeing him with about, was it 400,000? He started
a little over 400,000, yes.
Yeah. So he did get lucky, in that hand versus the ace 10. But at the same time, he's chipped up almost like, a million chips without even really having like any other really, big hands. So he's like, able to pick up those small to medium pots over and over again.
Biggish aces for two players, where one of them has just moved all in with the ace-jack of clubs against Ashish Munot's ace-10. I don't think he's going to risk his tournament life at this stage. And coming back to that contest question that we bring to our viewers to win a ticket into an IOPC event. The contest question is, in which year was the first ever $1 million tournament buy-in event taken place? Which year held the first ever $1 million poker tournament buy-in? And
is it just me, or every time you mention the contest, somebody picks up kings?
It's always big pairs, that too. So it's quite strange. Maybe I should just keep bringing it up every so often for more fireworks to take place. So get your answers out there. Make sure that you tag 3 of your friends. Mention your Spartan Poker ID. You can get a ticket into the Titan Stack, I believe, is the tournament where you have a ticket worth 4,400 that you can possibly win if you get the right answer. In the meantime, of course, with an ace-queen-5 board, we've got Donkey firing out a bet, which gets a call from Arsh. He's not a believer, guys. That's clear from that first call.
Also, what's interesting to see is that the bet size was really small. It was 20% pot. And I think with a pair, Big Time is not going anywhere, at least for that bet sizing. In Donkey's defense, it's really hard to play kings on an ace-high board, and you're out of position, and you don't have too many chips to play with. So I wouldn't mind to check on the flop, but I think he's played it okay till now.
Yeah, again, very careful maneuvering with many of these guys. And of course, they've played a bunch with each other, including in this series. They've gone heads up with each other across some of these IOPC events, gotten to the final table together at these IOPC events. So everyone's aware of the other's styles to a fair extent. And I think each one of them knows when they need to sort of push the pedal to the metal. And that's exactly what Arsh Grover has done with his ace-king.
He's gone for 3.5x raise, sort of putting Donkey to the test to play for a lot of chips and potentially for his stack.
And as we see it, Arsh has picked up another smallish ace though. Well, since these players are taking their own sweet time, let me tell you that aside from that 38 lakhs, which is up top for the winner of this final table, there's also an 18-karat gold IOPC badge. And yes, they will also get a chance to be a part of the table known as the Masters table at the end of the schedule on the 3rd of February. And there's a fantastic customized Breitling watch, a chronograph of the Avengers 43 edition. which these players are going to be, they're all playing for that particular prize. And it's quite slick. Look it up.
And these medallions, they're going to be pretty fun to wear around because, I saw a couple of pictures and these medallions look pretty awesome. It is an alternative to your bracelet, and I think it's a pretty refreshing one. You can put it on your shirt and probably sport it on your jacket.
Yeah, I get the feeling some of these are going to be sporting more than a few on their jackets by the time this edition is done. We've got multi-title winners, as can be seen from these icons that these players are sporting next to their names. So it's fair that we have a look at that and see how it goes from there. Jack 9 of clubs, and I again feel Ashish Munot is like, I'm not getting anything, and we want to try and make something happen here with the Jack 9 of clubs.
They will see a flop.
One customer there. That's our former chip leader who's now down to 1.5 million in chips from his start of 2.5.
Yeah, we see the chip leader big timer though. If he hasn't got involved in a lot of big pots or anything, but we could see that he's chipped up to quite a nice stack there.
Yeah, he's just gone about very quietly. I think no flash, in fact, amongst all the players. There's not been too many fireworks in that sense. But yeah, slow and steady gets him up there. Little over 22 million. I beg your pardon, 2.2 billion. I like suited connectors. I don't know about you guys, but it's so fun. It's just fun.
It is. But a lot of times you spend so much of your chips, looking at flops and calling the flop bet and so forth. Sometimes you really feel like, your stack has dwindled a lot just because you're like, this suited connectors, to play. Yeah, but it could be a bit of a chip waste at times as well.
Well, he seems to really like that 7-8, but it might just bring an all-in from Ashish Munot because that's a pretty decent hand.
I think he's definitely using his, newly found chips to really put the pressure on a little bit here. It's actually something we have not seen a player do out of the big blind. Usually we see them just defending the big blind and calling spots like these. And we also at the same time know that the players, they like to raise under the gun, right? They know that under the gun position really it's a new button, right? Yes, a lot of players choose that under the gun position to make the raises in this day and age of poker because there's the trends that each trend comes and goes, and that still sticks around for a while. And there are players who then pick those spots to re-raise the players that's raising under the gun, just knowing that that's one of the spots that they're favourite to raise their hand from.
Well, Ashish Munot is definitely in a better frame of mind now that he's picked up some chips and gone over that 1 million mark. Finally, after all this time at the final table, which honestly hasn't been too much, but nice to get those chips behind him. And he's hit mid-pair as well. So it's good to be Ashish Munot at this point in time.
Yeah, he's definitely liking the fact that he's got a little more chips to play with. Finally, over the million mark. Big Timer is really going aggressive. He is seeming like he's changing gears, and you see the aggressive flop bet, which was called by Donkey. And let's see if a brick river comes, if Big Timer really wants to go for the pot.
Yeah, it was really good read by Donkey there to go over the top with Ace Jack. He felt timing wise, it was Big Timer's time to get more aggressive.
That's right. Get your puns right here at the IOPC commentary panel. We're here all week. We'll bring you these puns. It's a whole lot of fun that we're having right now. But it's great to see, when you get to see talent like this, it's really nice. Just the fact that he went over the top with that raise. He knew something was kind of suspect there. So that just comes from a lot of experience and really good play that they've done over the years.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not an easy shove to do there. You have a decent amount of chips, so it's about whether you really trust your read and you really trust how well do you know the opponent. In fact, and he made the right decision. It was not a very standard shove, but at the same time, the kind of raise Arsh made and Big Timer made was large enough to sort of not being able to call that raise. You either shove or you fold, and Donkey 07 went for the aggressive action and got rewarded for it. Big Timer picking up another race here.
I think it's safe to say that if Donkey goes on to win this one, that hand will probably be one of those turning points of his road to the victory line at the end.
Yeah, for sure. I actually also think that positions is really important. The final table draw really comes into play as well. So we actually see Donkey 07 has his position on Big Timer as well. And, over time, being able to just play Big Timer in position over and over again might benefit Donkey 07, on this final table.
Yeah, that is quite a large sort of advantage to have, especially in a deep stacked situation where the position sort of gives you that kind of invisible equity, for lack of a better word, and that is definitely be working in his favor.
Invisible equity, the way I play in the stock markets.
I've got a question for you guys. Do you have to be Indian in order to play in this series?
Yes, you do. Well, you need to have an Indian bank account, and you need to be a resident in order to participate on any of the Indian sites, not just one. Oh, well, there we go. The reason for that question was very clearly evident with that gesture from Selena Lynn, ladies and gentlemen. Might expect some migration being discussed a little later in the stream.
You guys keep talking about all the bonuses that come from, winning these tournaments and these badges and, the bling and all these, cool, cool badges that you get even on the table, right? And I'm like, yeah, no, those are pretty, nifty to have.
Yeah, it's
definitely a lot of bragging rights right there,
Yeah, for sure. And well, we've got Potato Play who's finally picked up a hand with pocket nines. Gets it up to 96,000. And, maybe that fireworks that I was talking about earlier, maybe this is that hand.
It looks like it, Peter. Naresh is not afraid to put his chips to, aggressive moves. And there you go. We might see a really, really big pot here.
This pot could very well determine the new chip leader on this table. Now, it's a little bit tough of a decision for free flow because you're not loving it in this spot with the ace jack after you make a 3-bet and then the button comes off the top.
And you just have so many chips. It is quite a difficult call. I think the deeper a tournament gets, it also brings in these kind of dynamics where you have to make really tough decisions for a really lot of chips, which sort of carves your way to either win the tournament or sort of bust at an unfortunate spot.
Yeah, for sure, because free flow right now is sitting second in chips, right? If he makes the call and he loses the hand, he's at the bottom of the stacks now.
Yeah, Potato Player, the new chip leader at this table with 1.9 million chips.
Okay, I just got to say, Potato Player, man, what's up? What do you eat and drink on the morning of these final tables, man? What's going on? I mean, already having claimed
it's called having the flip good, the flip good.
The flip good.
Running hard, running like a god, all of those, lines that we talk about. Sriharsha Dodapenny, no questioning his talent, but man, it's nice to have a slice of luck every so often.
Luck favors the brave, Peter. And yeah, the pocket nines with 20-ish big blinds is not an easy shove to make. And thankfully for Lady Luck, the nines hold, and he is now in a commanding position. And very, very interesting to see how he will proceed now since he has the chips. Whether he'll take the aggressive route or play a more passive sort of style. He is in the middle of two uneven stacks with Donkey. He has position on Donkey, but at the same time he has a shortest stack who has been playing back at the other players. So Potato has some work to do, but yeah, with more chips, I think he stands. He's a super favorite for the rest of the tournament now.
A set for Arsh Grover, but I don't think he's going to get too much joy with the way that hand has gone down. I was slightly surprised at the previous call from Nika, but then it wasn't too huge a bet. So,
and I think this is a great bet by Big Timer, because you see when the deuce hits on the river, a lot of draws which Big Timer would ideally be betting sort of miss, and this large bet could be sort of misconstrued to be maybe a bluff. And at these times you sort of level yourself into calling sometimes, and that's what Nika is doing. He's got a very very reasonably weak hand, but at the same time it is one of those hands which beats sort of all your missed draws. So he's sort of pondering whether he wants to make that call
and be a hero there, huh?
Yeah. That's just
because sometimes you kind of think about it, the dynamic of like it being on stream as well, right? Like you're like, oh, if I can make this call and there's people watching, it looks pretty cool. You also have to think about it like that, because there's also people who's probably putting bluffs that they might normally do because they're on stream, so forth.
Just to let our players know, current and future in the IOPC, you don't get an H badge for hero, right? So let's just be clear about that.
You should make one for like 7 deuce offsuit. If you win like a tournament with 7 deuce offsuit, you get like a special 7 deuce badge, stuff like that. You can actually fill the badge up so full, like right around the whole circle. Do you get
wiped out their faces completely.
Yeah. Do you get extra badges if you win the same tournament again? Like, would it be like X2 next to the name, or you get an extra 1?
I'm sure that I think for a lot of these players, if all of their badges were to be put up, I don't think there's enough screen space considering the kind of titles that they won. So
pretty sure that Sriharsha, Potato player, has more than 1 millionaire title. I think he has 2 titles. He's won 2 millionaire legends, which is a slightly larger tournament, Selena. So he's definitely shipped more than 1 millionaire. Yeah, for the lack of
it just picks up the most recent big wins, and if it's one of these major significant tournaments or like a flagship series, then yes, that gets popped up first.
Yeah, but this is the kind of problem you'd love to have, that there's no space to put up your
Yeah.
I would love.
Can you imagine like going to a tournament and if you were to take all your trophies, it just covers the whole entire table and there's just no room to play left?
What's this? It's my card. Yeah.
So Nika Zelda picks up open-ended straight draw, while Potato has the bottom pair. And look what the turn brought in, 2 pair now for Potato player. Nika Zelda definitely has an amazing draw. He might choose to bet. He might choose to check. Let's see what he thinks of doing. I think both things are reasonable. And he looks at betting, adding more value at the pot. Chance that Potato folds when he has nothing, and that could be a reason why he's betting. He's betting slightly larger as well.
Yeah, I think he should look. He's probably looking at targeting, any Jack X type of hands that the player could have there, and those hands, would probably fold to that kind of bet sizing on the turn.
Yeah, answering the question, what happens when Potato has a lot of chips?
It's amazing to see like he's now maneuvered himself again as a chip leader on the Super Highroller. Like I saw him kind of like give up. I mean he pretty much like went from being the chip leader to one of the shorter stacks and then back up to chip leader, and then it kind of happened a couple of times, and over again he was able to just keep getting it back, that chip lead.
Well, if there's any fireworks that were left in anyone's arsenal, this hand might just be the one that takes us there. Open-ender for Naresh Veeravalli, pocket tens for Vaibhav Sharma. We're definitely seeing another card here.
Yeah, no doubt. You might see a raise. You might see Free Flow is doing anything but folding here. And there you go. He shoves all in. Easy call. Oh my God.
Oh. It's right there. Wow. That That was a super long straight plus the flush for him, wasn't it, at the end?
Yeah.
It just hit him, every which way.
Well, and there you have it, folks. One more elimination at this final table. And it was our former chip leader, Vaibhav Sharma, who was playing as Nika Zeldar, who's now out in 5th, taking home 11.29 lakhs for his efforts. I have to say my heart goes out a little bit to Vaibhav Sharma in this situation because he just couldn't build. He wasn't gaining any kind of traction with whatever kind of cards that when he had good cards, he didn't get any action. When he had bad cards, which he did for the most part, and then eventually the way it went down in that particular hand just sums up the day that he's had, the evening that he's had. But nonetheless, excellent work getting to this final table. And again, any pain will be soothed a little by an 11 lakh payout. So, Vaibhav Sharma, congratulations on your finish. And I'm sure that, like with the other gentlemen at this table, Vaibhav is going to be onwards and upwards to the next IOPC event on schedule for today. Down to the final 4. And I like the stack sizes here. And I especially like the fact that, the short stack is donkey, but he's got over 1 million in chips. And that in his hand is definitely, those are 11 million weapons. So 1.1 million weapons, so to speak. So I like the fact that these guys are stacked up the way they are.
Yeah. And we've seen like a complete shift in sort of the chips. The chip leader is out in 5th. The shortest stack coming to the table is now sitting pretty with 1.8 million chips. And there's so much play left. The shortest stack has 20 big blinds. And that is quite a decent stack for each of them to be comfortable and be able to play without any pressure, at least for the next round at least.
Yeah, we're actually seeing that potato player has really widened his range. We saw him raise a Queen 7 offsuit on the button, and then we just once again saw him, raise under the gun. And he's really using that stack size to his advantage because he is actually chipping up slowly without, other players confronting him at all. And this is going to actually put himself once again in a position to actually take down this tournament.
And a nice flop there with the Queen 5 of hearts. No complaints to see 2 hearts on the table.
Sriharsha, man, we're going to be cracking jokes about potatoes and chips all night long.
Yeah, nobody caught the fun I just made.
Everyone caught it. We were studiously ignoring it completely from our end. And all the way from Melbourne, Australia, also, there was like a complete curtain. Let's not approach that pun. Because I'm sure we're going to keep talking about these guys as we go along with the next week or so. But yes, I think Potato player is feeling pretty darn good at this point.
Easy fold for the big timer.
I have to say, Arsh is, maybe it's the kind of cards that he's been getting, but he's playing slightly more subdued than what we generally know of him to be as a really nice, aggressive kind of a player. I'm guessing at the end of the day, you need some cards to sort of go along with that aggression too. So he'll be hoping that he gains more traction than Vaibhav Sharma did for sure.
It's nice to see that he actually went for a 3-bet to Sriharsha's open. So kind of shows that he's aware of the fact that Sriharsha is going to be opening up his range a little bit. Also, the sizing that he went for, very interesting. He just went for a 2x raise. He is trying to keep the pots small. At the same time, sort of chipping up slowly. That's how he got most of his chips earlier in this game. And I think he's playing a little snug than usual. And I think that might work in his favor. You never know with so much aggression from Sriharsha and Free Flow and Donkey sort of playing along. You might see Big Timer taking advantage of the fact that the other players passed.
Yeah, my dark horse is definitely Free Flow at this point in time. Not because he's a good player, but I feel Naresh has a little bit of this, X Factor-ish kind of edge, which might just be what is required to defeat this kind of a table. So
the run good?
Well, and maybe just a tad bit of unpredictability in a sense. He's been playing really well till now. I mean, good cards, bad cards, mediocre cards. He's been doing the right things. And here he is at 1.6 million in chips.
Yeah, he definitely deserves to be in the spot that he is now. He has really made his, little soldiers go to work well on this final table.
All right, fine, Richie. Don't control yourself now. I mean,
I had so many puns.
potato player is just getting these cards and he's just like kind of running over the table like that. I mean,
Ace Queen for two players.
all right.
So this will be fun.
This is gonna be
I wonder if there's going to be an all-in.
Possibly, but I don't think. I think we'll see some post flop play here. Now that he limps, things could get a little crazy. Donkey definitely going to raise here. And when you limp with Ace Queen, Peter, it's usually the 3-bet.
Yeah. You want to try and sort of make your intentions known, and with that all in.
Chop, chop.
Aha! Well, there you go. At least we were a little bit on the edge of our seats in that one for just a second there. And once again, 3 out of the 4 players picking up aces.
Ace 5 suited on the button. Looks very beautiful. He has to raise here. Donkey, again, you might see him sort of 3-bet this. He knows Arsh is going to be opening really wide since they're 4-handed. 4-handed Ace 10 is quite a strong hand. And there you go. Big time I had to fold there with the Ace 5, unfortunately.
This is exactly what we've been discussing so far. You know, I have not really seen any flawed play here. Everyone's sort of doing exactly what they're supposed to do, and I think it accounts for the way the stacks are at the moment. Jack 10 suited, yes, one of my nice little fave combos. Oh, let's see a flop. Let's make it interesting. Because obviously, as commentators, this is all we're here to do. Just have fun looking at the hands that are going down here. And a few more chips added by Ashish Munot to his stack.
A good comeback there by Ashish Munot. He's slowly chipped up. There was a moment where he saw lull. He did not see anything to work with, and you see he kept calm, and now he's back in the game with 1.6 million. Almost the same stack as free flow, but none of them are worried that they have decent stack to play with. Potato players really put some daylight between the rest of the stacks. He's got 2.8 million, more than 2.5 times the second in chips. Sorry, almost twice the second in chips. Big time. I thought Big Time was second in the chip C is down to 1.2 million.
Yeah, the spread has really gone around this time. And
yeah, there's probably going to be fireworks again, yeah?
yeah, 2 pretty good hands. Let's see what Arsh Grover decides to do here.
And Kalina, when you're at the table and you see someone really going after you, that definitely affects your decision making, don't you think?
Definitely, but at what point do you kind of go, are they attacking me, or do they really just have these hands? And when they do it for the 3rd, 4th time, now are you really gonna say, oh, you're still bluffing, or are you gonna just fold? You know, that those are the questions you have to ask yourself. And a lot of the time, let's just quickly talk about that hand that just happened. We saw like a pretty standard, play, like where the players did get their hands in. And, we actually now see that Donkey is a very short stack at this point. Once again, these 2 players are going to get their chips in the middle.
Oh,
Did I really jinx them?
the commentator's curse.
Yeah, it's like we've been watching the 2 players tangle, and then the other 2 have just stayed out of their way.
Wow.
Oh boy.
Oh, very unfortunate for Donkey 07 right there.
When it's going, it's going. And with that, we have our 4th place elimination in Donkey 07, aka Ashish Munot, who takes 13.99 lakhs for his finish here at the IOPC Super Highroller final table. Well played to Ashish Munot, but again, a little bit, in comparison to Vaibhav at least, didn't quite get as much traction as he would have liked. And despite that, he really rode his stack up to a fair amount before well, those two back-to-back hands pretty much did him in.
Yeah, it almost felt like he was getting, in the whole, he was getting in his groove and sort of building up his chip stack. But yeah, two hands and he's out. So yeah, you have to feel for him. He's had a great run. He's made two final tables. You have to give credit. We are playing in pretty large fields, and to make two final tables back to back is a great feat. And so good, well played by him. But unfortunately, he couldn't close the tournament again. But yeah, I'm sure he'll be happy, Peter, with two big cashes.
Two big cashes will take away the sting. It's the best palm in the world. And sure, you miss out on some of the goodies that Selena Lynn mentioned earlier, the IOPC badge that we were referring to. So everyone, just for our viewers to know, everyone who wins an IOPC event gets an IOPC badge. Regular tournament winners get a silver badge. Feature tournaments like these, the winner will get an 18-karat gold badge.
Wow.
And you've got prizes like the Avengers Chronograph 43 watch, a Breitling watch. That's going the way of the winner of the Masters table. And you too can win. But let's take a look at this hand first before I talk about that. Ace Jack for free flow, who's hit his Jack on the turn, but it's still behind the Queens.
Yeah, he saved a few chips there by checking the turn. Okay. Good pot control by Naresh Viravadi. He would obviously be happy seeing the Jack, but then we know he's super dominated.
I really like the way he's played because, and maybe I can tell Selena this a little bit more since she's not aware of who Naresh is in real life. But Naresh is like this boisterous, full of fun, larger than life character. And the way he's playing now is at complete odds with his general personality. So for me, and I'm sure for Richie also, it's a really an interesting study of contrast in that sense. He's really playing it so controlled and so well. And he's just a fun-loving guy in the live poker situation. So it's great to see that these guys are exercising every facet of their personalities here.
I think it's hard to get a word in if Naresh is sitting at your table because...
so he just talks throughout the whole entire... Yeah,
he's just full of life, and he just loves talking. He loves having a good time. So yeah, he's a great character to have around, especially in live events. And it's always fun to meet him during the live tournaments in the normal days that we used to have. But it's really good to see him come to the final table of a big tournament, and hopefully he'll like I was telling Peter before the tournament that Naresh is my pick. To win this final table, and he's lost a couple of chips, Peter, but he's still in the game.
Still very much so. He built it up from the shortest stack, and he's here now with just 3 players left. He would ideally want to finish this off in style, but if you had given him the choice at the start of this final table as the short stack that, hey man, you might get out in the top 3, he'd take it, I think. He'd feel a little bad about it, but he'd take it.
And what a beautiful card this Jack of Diamonds is. Gives free flow a flush draw. And
big timer, very interested too. Open ender for big timer, and there's a flush draw there.
There you go.
Draw there.
In big timer chooses to fold, and some additional chips for free flow. Serena, how does the dynamic change with Big Timer and Paredo having most of the chips at this table and free flow down to about 19-20 big blinds?
Well, I would say that the Big Timer would definitely be tightening his range a little bit. Especially when this is where the position is so important now. Is when Potato Player is on the button, he's raising very, very wide on the button, right? Big Timer is in a big blind. So he's probably having to give up a lot of his, big blinds versus Potato Player. While Big Timer is on the button, Potato Player is actually in the small blind. So, Potato Player is losing a small blind compared to Big Timer possibly losing a big blind over and over again. And, Big Timer at this point, he's pretty much cuffed. Like, he can't really be making many moves. He has to take it easy. He has to really, wait for free flow to bust before, going back to playing poker again. At this point, I think that he would probably be definitely tightening his range post-flop, pre-flop as well.
That's a great perspective, actually. He is in a very tight spot. He doesn't want to give chips to free flow because that would be the absolute worst situation for him. But at the same time, he is on the big blind when potato player is in position, and he's going to be raising quite a lot.
Yes, and they're playing that hand out of position versus potato player. Now, is that something that he wants to do? So you've got to ask yourself, now what kind of range am I going to play in these spots now?
Well, our production team has leaned in really quick and asked me to mention the fact that it's not just regular badges that are up for grabs. If you are interested in winning a diamond-studded 18-karat gold badge, then you need to play in the crown, which is going on right now. Day 1E is underway. 11,000 rupees is the buy-in. 3.25 crores is the guarantee of that. 3.5 crores, I beg your pardon, is the guarantee on that tournament. Yes, a diamond-studded gold badge.
Are you guys really enticing me to move to India?
We are. All sorts of pretty bling.
So as soon as the international flights are on, we're definitely expecting Randy and Selena to make a trip to at least one of the tournament series in Goa. Yeah, I heard on the stream that Selena was supposed to come to Goa, and I think the tournament was postponed or cancelled. So yeah, Selena's trip to Goa is definitely due, and we would love to have.
We'll make sure there are some crowns and badges available in that one, whatever it is.
She's gonna hold you to it.
You get everybody to wear a sports jacket and just display all the badges they've ever won.
Yeah, we should actually do one of those things in the live situation whenever that happens. And we hope that happens really, really soon. In the meantime, though, Pocket Kings, I beg your pardon, King pair for free flow on this flop. And potato player is probably munching on some chips and wondering, should I?
And is he also sitting on the couch as well?
Yes, that's right. Sriharsha, man, you picked a name that we can have fun with that all night long, my friend. So get ready for it. But I'm sure he doesn't have too many complaints, given that he's the chip leader at the moment, just under 4 million in chips, and not a bad Queen Jack to go with that. Clearly not bad, considering he's just gone all in.
Yeah, the blind's catching up to free flow now. The big blind is 64k. So he's got a little under 20 big blinds now. So yeah, there is some pressure on him, but at the same time, there's no need for him to do anything crazy. I think he can wait for a better spot to, get some more chips and be in a better position. Ace 9 versus Jack 9, and that flop, free flow could potentially lose some chips. Two flush draws out there. Nobody's loving that. Free flop could go for a small bet for value.
With about half the pot putting in by Naresh Veeravalli.
A pretty safe card considering there were two flush draws and a straight draw. So yeah, the 10 is sort of a safe sort of card to bet. Big
It's
time.
almost an obvious.
Yeah, Big Timer also would be forced to call because he does have a good hand.
Yeah, I mean, free flow is definitely just betting for value here and hoping for a call, but what he doesn't know is that Big Timer actually has him outkicked in this spot.
Well, I like the bet that he's put forward, but this cannot be making him feel too good.
Yeah, Arsh is making it really hard to commentate, Peter.
Yeah, man. Arsh, come on, man. Just slow down, buddy.
So some creative
Let us
ways
do our
there.
jobs here. And there you
And
go.
Naresh makes the call.
Wow. I mean, that's one case where it's a classic display of knowing your opponent.
That was wonderfully done by Arsh Grover. God bless
Definitely
him for that.
unconventional in his move there. But yeah, he takes it down with the ace 9. Naresh down to 12 or 10 big blinds now.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of players would just opt for a call there rather than going for extra value. And he just somehow seemed to know that he was ahead of free flow and went for that extra value and actually got paid.
Right.
I didn't say anything, and the Kings have come on their own.
You were thinking about the contest, Peter. Don't lie.
I was.
Oh, very unfortunate time for annoying here from free flow.
Well,
Nice flop.
Oh, no, it does not hit him this
that
time.
was just.
That was a nice tease on the flop.
Well, our dark horse has unfortunately not been able to finish the race, but what a terrific performance. I mean, coming in from the short stack to building his way up the chips counts and now finishing up in third place. I mean, second runner-up, no small feat considering these kind of events, the high roller, super high roller events, generally attract the cream of the cream as far as, the poker talent is concerned. So, very well done to Naresh Veeravalli. He takes home 16.9 lakh rupees for his third place finish. And yes, we are now down to heads up.
Heads up. Two really solid opponents. And Naresh, yeah, I mean, it was a great run. It was nice to see that Naresh from the small stack, happened to build. He had everything going for him for a moment. I think the ace time was a jackman was slightly unfortunate. Arsh sort of juiced and got max value, which I think is sort of deciding factor for him to go with the Queen 9. But yeah, what a terrific performance by him, and hopefully we'll see more of him in the future live streams.
Yep, 17 lakhs. We do expect you to play some more of these events, Naresh. And well, that last hand, it would definitely make the highlight reel for sure. That was, like Selena said, it's just about knowing your opponent and knowing that you can juice that much more out of them at that stage of the hand. And yeah, it paid off really well for us.
Oh, we're actually going into, I believe, the deal at this point in time. We actually saw this happen exactly, roughly around the same couple of hands into the final heads up, and the players decided to go for a deal in the high roller as well.
Well, we're just waiting for information to flow in to determine who is actually the winner of this tournament. Well, it should be Sriharsha Dodapenny. Man, all those potato jokes are going to come back and bite us in the way. But yeah, looks like the guy who ends up laughing all the way to the bank is in fact Sriharsha Dodapenny, aka Potato Player, who takes down this tournament. We're just waiting on the numbers to come in. Yep, the players have split with the amount of 33.92 lakhs going Sriharsha's way, and Arsh Grover, another fantastic performance by this young player, by this young bright talent, and he's taken home 30.57 lakhs for his finish, which is second place, which means one more gold badge to Sriharsha. Man, it's like, what can I say here? This is just crazy. It's a high roller winner and then the super high roller winner. This is just back to back. Are you going to buy a house after this, Sriharsha? I'm sure we'll get in touch with him in a few minutes now. Just trying to make that happen. But what a terrific game!
Unreal performance. I think he's given us a lot of opportunities for making jokes because of his nick, but he's also sort of impressed all of us. Selena was talking about how well he was playing on the first day. He obviously won that tournament, and now look at this beautiful performance by him. He didn't have much going for him at the start of this tournament. He was down 900k, but he hung around, and once he got the chip lead, he never looked back, and he just pedaled to the metal, and Sriharsha takes it home once again.
Are you looking to adopt someone, Sriharsha? Just making sure.
It's amazing. I've done 2 streams, 2 commentary final tables, and the same player has taken down the events. What are the chances of that? Do you guys not have other good players that can put up a fight against him?
No, I think Sriharsha is on definitely the best roll of his life at the moment right now. It's just super hot at the moment.
While we're waiting for the numbers, I'd like to ask what I asked Randy in the last stream. So after the last stream got over, I asked Randy, both of you, in fact, have played so much poker. What do you think about the way the Indian poker, the style, and what do you think about it? I'll tell you what Randy told us.
Oh, okay. Okay, so this is the thing. I started poker a while back, right? So every time I see an Indian player, I assume they were coached by intervention.
Right.
Is that true? I don't know.
There was certainly a batch of players right at the beginning who, of course, were following intervention and made sure that and some of those guys, including Karthik Vaid, the internet kid, he's one of those guys who's sort of been mentored by intervention. And over the course of, I think, the last 5 years, maybe, Richie, when all the stables and more people getting into the coaching side of things. So it's been quite an organic growth and quite a fast one at that, in fact, because the rate at which India was when it began, I'd say poker began in this country in about 2009-ish. And from 2009 till now, 2020, it's been such a rapid growth. The best example of that I can think of is the fact that in the last 4 years, back to back, you've had Indians winning a bracelet at the WSOP. There was Aditya Sushant, there was Nikita Luther, the solo bracelet that was won by Abhinav Iyer. And last year at the online WSOP, we've had the player who goes by the name of Mandavi, who took a bracelet home for the country. So it's amazing what's happened in the last 3.5, 4 years. And I think it only bodes well for the future of the sport in our country.
Yeah, I mean, my experiences, I was talking to Sam about, is I'm very careful c-betting against Indian players because you get check raised. Frequency is much higher than players from any other region. He actually talked about this with me. He says that, because people love c-betting in Macau so much, he's like, well, they've came up with a way of, fighting that is to raise a lot of flops, check raising a lot of flops, because they all, they most of the time might have not connected, but, they've been taught just to c-bet. So that's kind of their way of, kind of going against that. And I mean, like, I always assume they're good players where they're coming from. India, that's kind of like given, right? Like, I know that they've put time and effort into studying poker, and once again, I just kind of feel like they're all the students of intervention. That's kind of like the gist. What did Randy say? I'm curious.
So you have given us such an amazing answer. Randy just said, "You guys are crazy. You guys are reckless."
I actually don't think that at all. I think there is one reckless, crazy player who's Indian, but I think he's actually long-term wise. He lives in Hong Kong, and his name is Shawshank Rathi. I don't know if you guys know that name.
Yeah, Shashank Rathi. He's from, he stays in Hong Kong, yes.
Yes, okay. He is like a crazy player, okay? But everybody else I've met, it definitely way below that craziness, yeah.
But Shashank is one of those guys who's been like so aggressive. I've seen some of those live reports and it's like my way or the highway. And, sometimes the moves that he's made have resulted in him landing really big scores, and at other times you're like, what's going on here? It's just completely crazy.
I see him call a hand. I believe he had 9 high on the river, but his read was the player had a 6 high.
Wow.
And he made the call, and I was like, who does that? Do you know what I mean? Like it was just mind blowing. But he does these things, and you're like, and because the way I look at poker is that I don't believe that there is a right and wrong. No. And I think that there are players who are recreational players, but they figure out the games themselves. And there's a lot to take away from that, because there's some things that they do really, really well that, a lot of the professional poker players might be like, oh, like you're a fish, right? And then they just kind of stop at that. Yeah. But I do think that, because they figure out the game themselves, there's actually a lot to actually get from them, just kind of like the way they see the game. It's actually a little bit different. And I actually like to see all these other players and how they decide for the game a little bit. And I can always, find things I can learn from anybody on the poker table. And that's a part of the game that I really, really love, is that, if you are not at a point where you're too arrogant and think that, you're the best out there, you can always improve and learn from the game, and you can always step it up. And that's, something that you slowly evolve over time. And that's what's so great about the game, because the game is always evolving and you can always get better. you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys could tell I'm still so passionate about it, isn't it? Like, it's like,
Absolutely, yeah. You've spoken like a true professional.
I'm like, I want to get back in. I want to play now, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I've got Sriharsha on the line with me, so let's have a word with the winner. Sriharsha, you're on the broadcast, my friend. Once again, congratulations on this fantastic performance. We are quite boggled with, almost the back-to-back situation that you've done. Very well played, man.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
So at some point in the final table, you must have been wondering that it's not the chip lead position that you entered that final table with, but just slow and steady sort of won the race for you.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like one of the middling stacks, but the good thing with this final table is that stacks are much deeper compared to the earlier one. So the chip lead, I mean, cannot like put as much pressure as he can, like let's say in the earlier final table. And also the payouts are kind of top heavy. That's like top two heavy. So there is slightly lesser ICM. So like from the 6th to 4th, 6th to 3rd, the pay jumps are, I mean, not really comparable to the top two pay jumps. So it kind of made it easy. So that kind of reduced the advantage of having chip lead. I mean, obviously Vaibhav, he has a big chip lead and is very aggressive and very good. So yeah, I mean, like he also realizes that there is not too much ICM on everyone. So yeah, I mean that kind of helped a bit. And I played. I think I didn't get into any of that really. The crazy ICM spots where I had to make some big folds or big calls. So I was happy overall.
Very nice, man. And here we've been joking about your username, and there's so much thought that you put into all of that. Selena is like talking about couches and potatoes. Right? Richie's talking about all sorts of other puns that we're making as far as the username is concerned. But like I told these guys before, you're the one who's laughing his way all the way to the bank. So
no, it's fine. Obviously, there's the idea of putting that name, right? Like people find it funny because. I mean, I don't think I would imagine it's pretty scary like playing with me. So at least they have that thing going on.
I have a question.
Richie has a question for you, man.
Sriharsha lives in Bombay. Would he consider coming into the studio for the next tournament? It'll be way easier doing this interview.
No, I mean, it's obviously a lot of run good. It kind of helps that these high roller fields are kind of small, small and structures are pretty good. So there's definitely a much better chance of making final tables compared to, let's say, millionaires. This run good. But I won a couple of millionaires as well. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Feeling good.
Not bad. Very modestly done. Selena, any questions from your end?
I don't have any question, but I have advice. So, for example, in the next tournament you win, and I believe that you're gonna grow your bankroll, right? Be baller enough, and I want to see you say to the second place, well, not second place finisher, but the guy that you heads up with, let's put first and second place money all for first and just play for it. So second gets zero, nothing. And I want you to do that rather than a deal.
So again, like today as well, I mean, it's kind of, sport. I tried to calculate my EV on the heads up and it came down to like I'm losing around 1.2 lakhs like by dealing. So, and I thought like the SNG again, like, so I'll be having two stacks, double stack in SNG and one player less. So instead of 10 players in the Masters SNG, there'll be 9 now because I won 2. So I thought I'll gain like 60k there. So overall I felt I lost like 40-50k by dealing, and I thought like it's worth giving up for the glory, So yeah, but I definitely I don't. I mean, if there is a big difference in the first and second place, so we are giving up like a lot more. by dealing. So yeah, I mean it's kind of the dicey, definitely to choose to deal or not. But Arsh is obviously good player. So I mean I just calculated, considering I've been like 1 out of 4. I lose like 1 out of 4 times, which is I think is fair. And like I didn't give up like too much EV, so I was just happy dealing. But yeah, I mean, and for the stream, I think it would have been nice if I continue at stuff. But at least I can promise that in the Masters, I'll definitely not be dealing, because I mean, it's just one paper. So
I'll wait. After you've got your house, your private jet, your yacht, maybe you'll be like, all right, let's put all the money for first to just pay for it.
These are kind of big buy-ins. I mean, still like 30, 35 buy-ins. So, there's a bunch of it goes into like poker role itself. And let's see. I mean, I obviously my aim, obviously the goal is to just play the highest stakes, both online and live. So for that, I just need to grinding. So hopefully, not like a big spender. On the thing. So
really, okay. So Richie and me are just putting this idea out there. Adoption and everything. We're open to that idea, my friend. So think about it long and hard. I have a feeling that you might just do a few more deep runs like this one over the course of the next week or so. So I'm going to let you go right now, man. I'm sure there's more grinding that's coming your way. Thanks so much for your time, Sriharsha. Once again, fantastic performance, and congratulations again on your win.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks. Bye.
And ladies and gentlemen, that was Sriharsha Dodapenny, aka Potato Player. We made a lot of jokes over the course of this evening. And, that's what we're here to do. That's what they pay us the big bucks for, the big chips for, to bring you all that fun and excitement. And at the end of the day, it was one man standing with all the chips, taking home the biggest cash.
This is a fun. This is an intended fun, right? Oh God! All right. I'm sorry. I can't help myself.
Well, and I'm really looking forward to that Masters table now to see exactly what's going to go down there. So it should be all guns blazing. That'll be a great end to this IOPC schedule. Remember, the Masters table takes place on the 3rd of February in the evening, and we know that the best of the best as far as this IOPC series will be battling it out there for that Avengers Breitling customized watch. And no doubt that this is just the start of the more exciting phase of the IOPC schedule. The crown's underway, of course, like I mentioned earlier. And you've also got the main event, which is going to be coming up shortly. That was quite an exciting stream. Thank you so much for joining me on this one. To my fellow commentators, Selena Lin and Richard Haridasom, thank you so much for your time, for the fun, for the puns, and a lot more. We will see you very soon on the next live stream. Make sure you stay tuned to all our social media pages. This was the Super Highroller at the IOPC, brought to you by SpartanPoker.com.